areas of the country have always fascinated me to photograph. One was Texas, and one Southern California. I don't understand, it just fascinates me, you know. Show business and the oil, I mean, it's improbable.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Winogrand Circus. And, this is my friend Gary Winogrand, and he's going to explain all these pictures.
Who was Gary Winogrand? He was an American photographer, emerged first in the photojournalistic scene in the 1950s, became famous in the art scene by the end of the 50s, but especially in the 1960s, and became famous, I guess, most significantly for something which we call street photography.
I hate the term. I think it's a stupid term, street photography. I don't think it makes any, it tells you anything about a photographer or work.
He was really trying to find moments in life that were dramatic, significant, often puzzling, and in the process of doing that, became extremely influential by the mid-60s, and that lasted up until his death in the 80s.
I met Gary Winogrand on the day that he arrived to interview for his job at UT. And I was in the lab working on my thesis. It was to be finished in a couple months. So he looked at my photographs and he said, "What's the name of your thesis?" And I said, "Faces of Woman." Faces meaning facets. And he said, "Well, that's really interesting because I'm working on a book of pictures of women too, and it's called Women Are Beautiful. And I want to subtitle it, Observations of a Male Showing His Pig."
When I'm photographing, I see life. That's what I deal with. I don't have pictures in my head. I frame in terms of what I want to include, and actually when I want to snap the shutter. And I don't worry about how the picture's going to look. I let that take care of itself. You don't learn anything from repeating what you know, in effect. So I keep trying to make it uncertain, which is often a reason why I may tilt the camera or fool around in various ways.
I would meet Gary here and there on the street, at the Capitol, exchange a few pleasantries, you know, watch him take pictures. And so I was able to take a few pictures of him, and it was funny. He was always startled when I photographed him. He's there, but he's not supposed to be seen. He's not supposed to be part of the scene. Well, of course he was. By that time, he was a famous photographer.
I had seen him on the street a couple of times because he was down here on Guadalupe on the Drag in the 70s when he first came. That was very much sort of his daily hangout. He always had a number of students around him. Once I even got shoved out of the way so he could get a photograph. And I say shoved in a very gentle way, of course, because we were talking, and Gary, in typical fashion, may be talking to you, but he's going to constantly be looking around.
I have been a Magnum photographer since 1983, a full member since 1988, and I teach at the University of Texas while still continuing to do interesting work that I like, at least. Gary Winogrand was a very unique person, and I think the first time I saw any of his photographs were, he did some photographs from animals, I think. I come from an art background myself, and I really appreciated what he was doing. He's pushing the envelope every time he picked up the camera. I watched some video of him working, and it was like, you wonder, how does he get that close? He's like so natural. He's just having the camera up to his eye, and he's fooling around with it, and that kind of thing. Nobody really knows what he's doing. But it's not about that, it's about getting the moments.
One time when I was at the Capitol, there was a big Equal Rights Amendment demonstration. Sarah Weddington, who is famous for taking on the Roe versus Wade case that legalized abortion in America, was speaking. And there was a big banner, you know, ERA banner in front of Sarah Weddington. And Gary, in a typical fashion, walked right up to the podium. So I got some pictures of him doing that.
I first met Gary Winogrand back in probably the late 70s. I started my career as a repair technician and I was working at a local repair shop called Photo Mechanics before I opened my own place. And the first time I ever laid eyes on Gary, he walked in the door and almost beat me up. He was furious. There was a broken Leica M4 rangefinder that my boss had misadjusted, and he had shot a whole lot of film, which if you know how Gary shot, you can appreciate. And they were all out of focus because the rangefinder was screwed up.
He had a real tough guy image. Most people thought of him that way, but I didn't see it. When he was around me, it was much more relaxed and fun and talking about photography. I can remember once Eileen was out of town, so my husband and I invited Gary over for dinner. When he arrived, he had little pieces of toilet paper on his face where he had cut himself shaving. My husband and I looked at each other like, who's gonna tell Gary? Finally, someone suggested that maybe he need to go look in the mirror in the bathroom.
I asked Gary kind of offhanded one time, would you like for me to exhibit some of your photos sometime and maybe we can sell them? And he said, sure, I'll pick some out for you. And so he did. And we hung his show, and I had about 30 of his prints on the wall. And they were the photos that he decided to exhibit himself, and he picked them and he printed them. This print I had in the store for a very long time, right at the front counter. And people would always look at it and laugh. White people would come in and look at it and go, you see what happens in a mixed marriage? And then black people come in and go, see what happens in a mixed marriage? And I just thought it was so unique that the exact same comment would come from black or white people. You know, this is the ice cream cone lady. It's one of his most famous photos. And there's an outline of Gary right here taking the picture. And it's just a great shot. It's one of those things where, you know, you just wonder, what did he say to her to get that reaction? Or maybe he didn't have to say anything.
There were, you know, rolls of film being exposed by him every day. And what he shot on the drag, maybe one shot, maybe two shot, maybe five shot, whatever intrigued him at that particular moment. You have to remember that Gary's style was very complex. He would look for chaos, and then he would look for that moment in chaos where everything would come together in some fashion.
Well, when I'm photographing, often enough somebody will come up to me and say, you're getting good pictures. And I don't know. I know that what I photograph is interesting. I haven't seen the pictures yet, you know.
Another time I was on the drag, there was a belly dancer. And the belly dancer had a couple of children, and I had to throw money in, and there were people around. And Gary was just there, but he was very stationary because he had been at a football game at UT. Well, one of the football players ran over him and broke his leg, you know, just knocked him right off of his feet. And so when he was walking the drag, he had on a light cast and a cane, and he was photographing the belly dancer.
I don't deal with these things like they're masterpieces. I deal with them in terms of what I'm interested in. I could look at a picture and I could be interested in it for this reason or that reason. I indulge myself that way. I learned a long time ago, there's no one show or selection that's going to be fatal, or gonna send me heaven bound, you know, one way or the other. You know what I mean?
We were at a talk that he was giving one time, and he went to some party the night before. Some girl asked him, was it a good party? He said, oh, it's about 36 rolls. So that's how Gary saw the world, was based on how many rolls of film he shot. And he shot film like nobody I have ever seen, even to this day. He was a machine gun with a camera.
I think the modern digital camera that can take as many pictures as you want, and then you can select and delete, is exactly what Gary Winogrand was doing. So digital photography, I think Gary would like it a lot. You know, it fit right in with his methodology.
Gary also loved children, and he particularly liked my son, who was about 3 at the time. One day I was walking into the photo lab with my son. He was toddling along beside me. And some people were talking about a plane crash that had happened that morning. A load of Vietnamese orphans who were being flown to the United States. They were talking about how people that were taking these orphans were baby snatchers. Well, it just so happened that my son was a Vietnamese refugee. I see Gary standing in the door of the photo lab, and he heard what they said, and he came forward, and he said, "Sometimes people just do things out of love." And he looked at me. It's one of the sweetest moments of my life, actually.
He stayed at UT about 5 years. He was not going to be part of the rat race of trying to get tenure professorship or anything like that. He wanted to go on and keep photographing. So I happened to see him the last week before he left. And I said, you know, "I'm sorry to lose you, you know, wish you were here." And Gary said, "That's okay. I'm glad to get out of this state. There are no more great photographs to be made in Texas." I'm glad he was wrong about that last part. But he left. He headed for California and finished his life there and continued on with what he did.
I asked him what a good photograph was, and he said right away, "A good photograph is one that makes you see things in a way you've never seen them before." And that was perfect.
I don't lay myself down on the couch, you know, to figure out why I'm a photographer and not a this or that. Whatever it is, I can't seem to do enough of it.
Hello.
Okay, so let's just start like we did last time.
I am helping Dave make this film.
What is our film about?
The film is about Gary Winogrand and his time in Austin.
Which is interesting, terribly interesting.